Jamie here, and today I want to talk to you about VBAC, vaginal birth after cesarean. So raise your hand if you've ever heard the phrase, once a cesarean, always a cesarean. Now, I want you to go ahead and go down to the comments and type, that's bullshit. Can you do that for me? Cool. Let's talk about helping you achieve the VBAC of your dreams.
This video is not intended to substitute for medical advice. This video is intended to be for informational and educational purposes only and is geared toward the average, normal, healthy dyad. Every pregnancy is unique, and please consult your provider for your unique situation.
And if you can go into the comments, I just want you to type, I will rock my VBAC. Because that is tip number 1. You have to have a positive attitude going into a VBAC if you're going to have the birth you dream of. I want you to think about your C-section. And I want to think about how it made you feel. And I want to think about the positives and the not so positives. I just want you to think about that birth experience for a minute. And now I want you to envision the birth that you're dreaming of. You can be realistic, you can be unrealistic, whatever the birth you dream of is. I want you to close your eyes and think about it. I want you to think about who's there, where you are, what you're feeling, what you're hearing, what you see. Now I want you to think of 3 words. And I want you to write down 3 words that you feel when you think of your dream birth. Now, if you want to be bold, you can share those 3 words in the comments with me, or you can just write those 3 words down, the 3 words that you want to feel during your birth. And I want you to post them somewhere where you're going to see them every single day. Now, let's rewind and talk about your C-section for a minute. I want you to think about what happened during your C-section and why you had a C-section. Was it for a medical emergency? Was it something that could have been prevented? Was it unnecessary? There's a lot of different reasons for C-sections, and I want you to just think about your personal experience, and I want you to think about what could be different this time. What can you control to make this different this time? Maybe there's things out of your control, and that's okay too, but I want you to think about what you can do to make this time different. So VBAC is kind of like a taboo subject still. Like, it's crazy. We're in 2020 and there's still so many places where women have to fight for the right to have a vaginal birth after a previous cesarean. And it's really not fair. In this video, I'm going to be gearing a lot of the conversation more toward hospital VBAC. So if you're planning a home VBAC, this might not be the video for you. But I think there's still a lot of positive things you can draw from it. So stick around and see what you can take from it. So what is the big risk with VBAC? The big concern with having a VBAC is that you could have an increased risk of uterine rupture. Now that sounds really scary, and it's a serious problem if it happens. It's a serious risk. But the truth is, uterine rupture only happens in about less than 1% of VBAC cases. So really, you have a 99% chance of not having a uterine rupture. So if we remove that from the equation, your risks are just the same as any other vaginal birth. Other than the uterine rupture, there's no other major increase in risk factors for other conditions. So for a while, VBACs were having really, really bad outcomes because doctors were doing things like regular common inductions for VBACs, and induction is one of the things that's known to increase VBAC risk if it's not done in a certain safe manner. That's not to say you can't have an induction, but induction does slightly increase your risk for uterine rupture, and it needs to be done in a certain way. And for a while, in around the 90s, that wasn't happening. It wasn't being done in a safe way, so a lot of inductions were being pushed on VBAC clients, and that was turning into poor outcomes. So that got blamed on VBACs. After they kind of pulled back and did more research, they realized that it was actually more practice-based than an inherent risk. So let's talk about my 3 tips for having a successful VBAC. Tip number 1 is to find a supportive VBAC provider. I'm going to give you guys a whole other video on how to determine if your VBAC provider is supportive, but it's really important to determine if your doctor or midwife is VBAC supportive or VBAC tolerant. There is a difference, and I'm going to talk about that difference in another video, but right now I just want you to know that it's important for you to ask very, very specific questions and figure out if your provider is truly on board with a VBAC and is truly going to do everything to ensure that healthy experience happens for you. If they have certain non-evidence-based policies in place because you're a VBAC client, then they might not be truly supportive. Tip number 2 is to encourage spontaneous labor. If you don't need an induction for medical reasons, avoiding an induction is going to decrease your risks of having a repeat cesarean. This is because induction just in general increases the risk of having other interventions that could lead to a cesarean. And second, induction methods can increase the risk for uterine rupture. Certain medications like Cytotec can increase the risks for uterine rupture. And if Pitocin is not done in a safe, slow manner, it can increase the risk for uterine rupture. So tip number 3 is kind of goes hand in hand with the tip number 2 with the inductions, but you want to reduce interventions as much as you can. If you can let your body do what it needs to do without having a lot of interruptions and just interventions that aren't necessary, then it's going to be more likely that you will achieve the birth you're dreaming of. I'm not saying that in order to have a VBAC, you can't have an epidural. What I am saying is you might want to prepare yourself to put that epidural off as long as possible so you can stay in an upright position and encourage your baby to move down more. There's a lot of different ways that you can have the birth you're looking for and decrease interventions. And tip number 4 is to just have a healthy pregnancy. I think having a healthy pregnancy plays a much bigger role in birth outcomes than we really give credit to. I think having a well-nourished body and a strong body prepares you to go into labor like you're going into a marathon that you have trained for. You wouldn't go into a marathon eating cake and pizza and sweets and junk food all day, every day for the 9 months beforehand and never exercising. I'm not saying don't enjoy delicious treats. Like, hello, I ate an entire pack of the Mega Stuffed Oreos cookies when I was pregnant. Like, yeah, enjoy your snacks. But eat healthy, exercise, nourish your body. Get more fruits, get more vegetables, get good proteins, lots of, you want to make sure you're getting lots of those micronutrients. A lot of herbal teas are really good for encouraging better nutrition, hydration, and just having an overall improved wellness so that you're going into labor and going into birth kind of with a leg up. So if you guys have any questions about VBACs, I want you to ask them in the comments because I am starting an entire VBAC series. My next video is going to be about how to find a VBAC supportive provider, the questions that you need to ask. We're going to do a whole series on VBAC, and I really want to make sure you guys are getting your questions answered. So if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, go ahead and hit like. That way more families can find my videos and find this support and get some advice. If you really liked my video and want to see more tips and tricks about birth and breastfeeding or hear more birth stories, go ahead and hit subscribe and make sure you press the little bell so that you see all of my videos when they come out. And if you're looking for one-on-one support planning your VBAC, go ahead and reach out to me because I'm offering virtual consults, I'm offering virtual doula support, and I can help connect you with local doulas in your area. Thanks guys, see you soon.